Hello dear students. In last class, we studied about the biomolecules, amino acids and proteins. I hope you have understood them very well and you know that amino acids are small molecules and we consider them as bio-micromolecule. Whereas proteins are bigger molecules which are formed by polymerization of amino acids and they are bio-macromolecules. Today we will study about another biomolecule which is lipid. Lipid or fat. There are different types of lipids. Before going into the details of lipids, let us first find out, are the lipids bio-micromolecules or bio-macromolecules? We have already discussed it in the beginning of the chapter. We know that whenever we have to analyze the chemical constituent of any living tissue, we first grind it with trichloroacetic acid and then we strain it. And we see the components which are soluble in acid pool and the components which are insoluble in the acid pool. So all those chemicals, biomolecules which are soluble in acid pool, we generally consider them as bio-micromolecules, and the insoluble biomolecules are considered as bio-macromolecules. That is one criteria. Another criteria I told you, any biomolecules having molecular weight less than 1000 Dalton units are considered as bio-micromolecules. And the ones which are having higher molecular weight, they are considered as bio-macromolecule. Now let us see what is the case with lipids. First, lipids, they are acid insoluble, but they have molecular weight around 800 Dalton units. So, where do we keep them? Bio-micromolecule or bio-macromolecule? Well, the answer is truly they are bio-micromolecules. But because of their behavior, they behave like bio-macromolecule. Because first, they are acid insoluble. Second, though individual weight of one fat molecule is 800 Dalton units, but they generally don't remain in that form. They are in the vesicle forms together. Therefore, they become highly heavy molecules. That's why we study them under bio-macromolecules. Understood? Now let us study the properties. What are the properties? First property, they are made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. They are generally acids. We'll study them in detail when we study the types. So they are carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, but oxygen is generally less in proportion. Next, they are water insoluble. They are not soluble in water. Okay. But they are soluble in organic solvents like alcohol, then chloroform, benzene, phenol. These are all organic solvents. They are soluble in organic solvents. And they are highly energy rich compounds. So these are the general properties. And they may be liquid generally in the form of oils, but they may also be solids. But whenever they are solids, they are not crystalline. Okay? Proteins and amino acids, they may be crystalline in nature, but they are not crystalline. They never are crystalline. Now, if you see the types, we can categorize them on the basis of their structure, composition. So, they may be simple lipids, compound lipids, derived lipids. In simple also, they may be true lipids in the form of triglycerides, or they may be waxes. Both are simple. They are only having the lipid part. But sometimes the lipid parts are conjugated with non-lipid part. That's why they are called as compound lipids. And compound lipids may be of different types like phospholipids, glycolipids, lipoproteins. Here, along with the lipid part, there is phosphoric acid attached to it. Here, along with the lipid part, carbohydrate is attached. Here, along with the lipid part, proteins are attached. Okay, so these are compound lipids. Next are the derived lipids. Derived lipids are processed lipids. These simple lipids may be processed to form a very complex structure. They are called as derived lipids. They behave like lipids. They might not be true lipids, but they behave like truly lipids. For example, sterol, cholesterol. So these are the general properties and general categorization of lipids. Now let's study them one by one. Let's begin with simple lipids. Simple lipids are actually the esters of fatty acids and alcohol. These are actually the polyhydroxy alcohols. Polyhydroxy alcohol means when the molecule has more than one hydroxyl group. You can see this is a glycerol having 3 hydroxyl groups. So whenever there are ester bonds formed between glycerol and fatty acids, then the lipids formed are called true lipids or true fats. When there is ester bond formed between any alcohol other than glycerol and fatty acid, the compound formed are simple lipids, but they are not called true lipids, they are waxes. We will focus on true lipids. So, we must know what are fatty acids. Fatty acids are just carboxylic acids, but they have a very long chain of hydrocarbon. If you see here, you know carboxylic acids, they have COOH group. This is a COOH group, and there is a very long chain of hydrocarbons. So that long chain hydrocarbon, that acid having a very long chain, very long tail, they are called as fatty acids. Therefore, fats are acidic in nature because they are formed from carboxylic acids, long chain fatty acids, long chain carboxylic acids. And the property of fats are actually because of the type of fatty acids present in it. So if you see here, when this long chain is totally saturated or there are only single bonds between the carbons, then we call them as saturated fatty acids. Palmitic acid is an example of saturated fatty acids. Saturated fatty acids are generally solid at room temperature. Whereas, if you see here, if a long chain fatty acid is there, but there may be double bonds in between, then they are called as unsaturated fatty acids. And unsaturated fatty acid example, oleic acid, linoleic acid, and they are generally liquid at room temperature and they are very thin and their viscosity depends upon the number of unsaturated fatty acids. More the number of unsaturated fatty acid, more thin, less viscous it will be. So I have written MUFA, MUFA, and here it is PUFA, PUFA. It is mono unsaturated fatty acid. And this is polyunsaturated fatty acid. When only one unsaturated fatty acid is there, then it is called MUFA. When more than one unsaturated fatty acids are there, double bonds are there, more than one double bonds are there, then we say it is PUFA, polyunsaturated fatty acids. Okay. So these unsaturated fatty acids, they are generally liquid and their viscosity depends upon the number of unsaturated bonds. And then this is glycerol. Now these glycerol have 3 hydroxyl groups. So maximum 3 fatty acids can form the ester bond with one glycerol molecule. So depending upon the number of fatty acids attached to the glycerol, it may be monoglyceride, diglyceride or triglycerides. Triglycerides are the most stable type of true lipids. So let us see how they are forming the bonds and how these fatty acids are attached to the glycerol and forming the triglyceride. Let's see how the fatty acids, they form bonds with the glycerol. This glycerol molecule has 3 hydroxyl group and in front of each hydroxyl group there may be one fatty acid. And you know, there is a polymerization taking place, that is condensation taking place. As a result, one water molecule is released and these two molecules are attached and an ester bond is formed here. Likewise, second, suppose we consider it as first fatty acid having R1, and likewise here this is the second fatty acid. Again, one water molecule will be released and an ester bond is formed. Same way, this is R3, that is third fatty acid. Again, there will be polymerization and one water molecule will be released and an ester bond is formed. As a result, this glycerol molecule can combine these 3 fatty acids and one big molecule is formed, that is called as triglyceride. Now this triglyceride may be of different type. It may be pure or it may be mixed. Like when all the same types of fatty acids are attached to one molecule of glycerol, then it is a pure triglyceride. And when different types of fatty acids are attached, then it becomes a mixed triglyceride. So this is how a big molecule is formed, that is called as triglyceride. And 3 water molecules are released. So in this way, the true lipids are formed. Now, we have already studied about the types of the compound lipids. Compound lipids are those lipids where along with the lipid part, some non-lipid part is also attached. There is one example structure of a type of compound lipid in your syllabus, that is phospholipids. Let's see what are phospholipids, how are they formed. You know, phospholipids are forming the biomembranes. All the plasma membranes are formed by a lipid bilayer, and that lipid bilayer is actually the phospholipid. And when we make the lipid, we make a structure like this. This is the head part and these are the tail part. Today we will study what is it actually, what is head here and what is tail here. So if you see a phospholipid, phospholipid is nothing but a simple triglyceride. The only difference is that you can see here it is R1, one fatty acid. Here it is R2, second fatty acid. But in place of the third fatty acid, there is a non-fatty part attached having phosphoric acid, and to the phosphoric acid there is a choline group attached. Because of that, this becomes water soluble and these two parts become water insoluble. So we consider it as the head part. This becomes the head part, this one. And whereas these two, they become the tail part. Okay, so this structure, which when we draw the molecule, the structure of the biomolecule, that is plasma membrane, we make like this, head part and tail part. So this is the head part, which is water soluble or polar, and these two, they, because they are the long chain, that's why these two are the two tails. Okay, so this is an example of phospholipids. Phospholipids are so very important. They are the raw material for all types of biomembranes. Now we come to sterol. Sterol is a derived lipid. They have a very complex skeletal structure. This is a very complex structure of sterol. All different types of sterols like cholesterol, estrogen, progesterone, all vitamin D, calciferol, vitamin E, tocopherol, vitamin A, K, phylloquinone, they all are formed from this sterol type of structure, and it is having a very complex structure. This is called skeleton of the sterol. Okay, so this was all about the fats or the lipids. So these lipids are so very important. They provide the energy to the cell because they are the reservoirs of energy. They are very important because so many our hormones like estrogen, progesterone, they all are fat based, and all our different types of vitamins, they are made from different types of fats. So fats are so very important. I hope you have understood the structure and the types of different types of lipids. Thank you.